This is the original Dynamic with Dustin, Markowitz, coming to you, as always, taped from the gym along the Colorado River, Laughlin, Nevada, for another rendition of Behind Enemy Lines. And joining me, as always, is my partner, the original Kentucky hot plate, Mr. John North.
And you can announce me, I guess, from the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I think that would be okay.
Should I have the on, or?
No, I think that's more West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
But we're glad to have everybody on, and today we are not talking about ladies' night to start out. We're just going with Chaos Results, which was posted, and the Retribution card, which looks like a dandy.
Indeed, it does. Yeah, we will be coming back. Everyone knows Girls' Night Out is judged, or has been judged, I should say. But yeah, I think we're going to do a one-shot on Girls' Night Out and Ladies' Night at a future date here. But we definitely want to go over Chaos, which was the 147th episode of Chaos. Can you believe that, Johnny?
It's pretty impressive. It's no Lassie, which went 900 episodes. I have no idea why Lassie went 900 episodes, but.
I don't know why you even knew that. That's what's seriously important.
I knew it from the WWE commercials. They come up like Lassie, 900 episodes, and Simpsons, and then they're playing off how they're going for 100 episodes or whatever, or 1,000. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know EWE at this point is literally one of, if not the longest-running e-feds still on the web, which it's definitely saying something. I mean, most e-feds last, 6 months, 8 months,
Yeah, I mean, usually you don't see a lot of them that has the longevity, definitely, that EWE has, and it's rather impressive. Jay and I were actually talking about it. I don't want to get too off topic because we always do that, but him and I were talking about it, and we're like, even though results are rather late sometimes, and even though stuff like that happens, there's, EWE is still ticking, so that's pretty impressive.
Late results, the hell you say, John? You're right, and it's amazing that EWE is still going strong. But I mean, there's a lot of dedicated people that have been involved with the Fed for a long time. I know, believe it or not, even I was involved in the Fed in 2004 as well. Westbrook, you've been around since 2004, off and on. And it's just Mike, of course, and Jay and Duel, and it's good. It's good to have that kind of dedication.
Yeah, and even though, like I said, results can be late, everyone seems very loyal to Jay on the site. If he disappears, the Fed kind of dies, even though there's plenty of activity, which I think speaks volumes for the kind of owner he is.
I just think he's drop dead sexy. You want my honest opinion, but yeah, it's just.
Me too.
All right. All right. Well, on that note, let's get into Chaos. We have, let's see here, 16 out of 20 RPs and 3 out of 6 on a dark match. So pretty good turnout here. I guess a special shout out to JC for doing the Saw segment. Yours truly for the no-show matches. Mark for writing Daniel Bryan, Beth Phoenix, Jason, and Punk, and Jay for the makeshift Abby and Jobber match. Sonic Christian, Taylor, Dana, Quinn, Brooke, and Edge, and all the other segments. Big thank you to all of our match writers, because we know this stuff is not easy.
No, I actually did the word count on Chaos this week just to see it. It was over around 4,000 words, so that's over a normal RP for EWE.
Sure, absolutely. And while I'm thinking about it too, mentioning the writers and whatnot, I do want to wish a big welcome to Ailey, who did join the staff this week. So, Ailey, welcome aboard, and, everyone who doesn't know who she does handle Mallory Costas and Shawn Guerrero, as well as the Night Twins. Just did the interview of her earlier this week, or last week, I should say. And, so big welcome to her as well.
Yeah, and I refuse to spell her name any differently now than A-Lee, because I think that's cooler. So, sorry, Ailey, that's what you're going to get called now. Or that's how it's going to be spelled now. I guess that's what you're called. You're called Ailey, so that's how I'm spelling it now. I guess I'll say that.
Actually, explain to me. It's Alicia without the Isha.
Oh, I guess so.
All right, running down the card, we had 3 dark matches. Opening match was Eli the Kid, so Eli Hogan versus Scott Rock. Eli showed, did a decent RP. Scott Rock no-showed as normal. I don't get it, Johnny. I mean, I understand we let people into the Fed, but this is like the 7th time this guy's joined the Fed and never RP'd.
Yeah, I don't get these guys. They're always a little active, and then they just kind of disappear. Then they may show up the day that their RP's due. And I think I just get in my head that these guys show up and they see that the other guys already RP'd, and they're like, no, F this, I'm out. That's what I picture them doing every time.
Maybe, but, I mean, at least you can have the courtesy to go on like the OOC board and say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be able to RP or whatever, but I don't know, I just think it's stupid. It's like that conversation we had about Jeremy Baltimore, which I know has rejoined the Fed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Jay Balt. Shout out to Jay Balt if Jay Balt listens to this.
Yeah. Jeremy, I have no personal hate against you, but the fact that you basically begged us for one more match and then no-show that match has driven me nuts. I can't lie. So,
he's in another Fed I'm in, and he's definitely a fan favorite over there because they have a chat room on the board there, and he always shows up, and he's classic Jay Ball.
And he, like I said, it's nothing personal. I think he's a great RPer. I don't know. Whatever. It's just one of those things. But anyway, moving on. We had another match which was supposed to be Christian versus Mark Steele. Of course, neither one showed up, and Jason Phoenix, as he's been doing for the last couple of weeks here, showed up and, as I so eloquently put it, anally assaulted Christian and Mark Steele.
That's a pretty good gig, I think he should just keep continuing that gig where he just don't even book him on the card, and any no-show, let him just RP for it, and then let him just destroy the guys who no-showed. I can't wait for the RP or F off match actually at Retribution, and I hope Jason Phoenix just RPs like 4 times for that.
Well, it actually suits the character really well. I can't think of the handler who handles him right now, but he's kind of got that niche down where Jason's sort of like this badass, and it works. It really does, and it is funny. It is very funny that he does this, and it kind of goes right into our third match, which is Michael McGillicuddy versus Spider-Man versus Jason Phoenix, and of course, same, second verse, same as the first, a whole lot nastier and a whole lot worse. I mean, it's perfect for him.
Yeah, I remember on the last podcast I started cracking up when you said Spider-Man's finishing move, so that's all.
Oh, God. I got to give a lot of love out to Star, though, because she won the Joker versus Spider-Man, and I hate to wish ill will on any character, but, man, I hope the Joker just smashes Spider-Man. I can't lie.
If it's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, then definitely. He needs to be smashed.
Nice. Okay, so that led us into the Chaos card itself. We opened up with Leo Cat and Assassin. Here's another one, Assassin, supposedly a Hall of Famer and no-shows. I mean, here's a guy that at one time was a very good RPer, and, it's like, why even bother claiming you're going to do this comeback if you're not going to show up at all?
Well, I can't get on too much because I did that from, let's say, about 2005 to 2010, so I can't speak too much on that. But, yeah, I kind of understand where he's coming from because I would just get the itch to come back and write and RP, and then I would sit down and try to write, and I was like, well, this is dumb, and I would just stop. So I don't know if he's doing that or what he has in mind, but I kind of know where these older guys that keep coming up are coming from, for sure.
But yeah, but at least you had the decency to tell Jay or tell somebody, hey, it's just not flowing, I'm not going to be able to RP. I mean, you didn't just not show up, period.
That's very true. I think I did that for WrestleMania. I just didn't show up. I forget which WrestleMania it was, but I just didn't show up at all.
Well, that isn't a takeaway, though, from Leo. I got to say, JC has actually been RPing really well, which is why, we'll have ourselves here, but why he and Eli are going to be in the X-Core match at Retribution. But, not too bad. He's really starting to make a decent name for himself. So, that's a good thing.
Yeah, when did the X-Core come back? Did I miss that? Yeah.
No, this is actually, and I'll tell you what, I'll get you into that story when we actually get to the Retribution card, okay?
That sounds good.
All right. Next match was Christopher Kincaid versus John North. I'm sorry, I get so confused. A little tick-based humor for those that don't know. Johnny used to handle himself, quote-unquote, John North, and it used to be the Billy Kidman, clean-cut Billy Kidman tick-base, so I give him flack about that all the time. But basically, no show for Chaos, which I know he's been having some personal issues. That's your boy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's like I said last week, he's in the process of moving, and he actually got on a couple minutes before deadline, and I'm like, well, I messaged him and asked him if he was going to role play, and he didn't answer, and then got offline.
Hopefully everything's okay there. We also had an attack. Daniel Bryan brutally assaults Christopher Kincaid afterwards. So, future feud in the making, possibly.
Maybe.
Are we going to go into this whole story again, or are we just...
Which one? No, I think we just need to leave it. I think everybody knows
okay.
about
right.
what happened.
All right, just saying. So.
I mean, just for fun, basically, I tried to come back. Originally, Kincaid started off as a thing to get me warmed up for Derek, and then it began clicking, and then I started on a roll with him, and then I just kind of got burned out with him. So I'm not going to point fingers at why I got burned out, but I just got burned out and decided to hang it up.
Yeah, well. Okay, moving on to match 3, we had Crime Time versus the Outlaw Country Boys, which is funny because you have two tag teams that I believe are both handled by one handler, if I'm not mistaken here. Because I believe Johnny Rebel and James Austin are the same handler too, correct?
Yeah, I think you're correct about that.
Yeah. Basically, we had a double DQ. I think they both agreed to that long beforehand, which is going to lead into Retribution. Which is good because I think that EWE does need some more tag teams. We had kind of touched base on that in the last podcast, and this is going to be fun. It's always good to see more blood in the field, so to speak. So.
Yeah, definitely would love to see the tag team division go up, so we can have some good tag team matches. I don't know. I guess it goes with what we said about the Divas division and the WWE and stuff like that. There's no tag team division in WWE. I don't think there's a lot of tag team division in TNA right now, so I think it reflects on the EFEDs when something is down in wrestling.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was talking with a friend of mine, a real-life friend of mine, so to speak, and we were actually discussing what I consider the golden era of tag team wrestling, which was really, in my opinion, the late 80s. And then we were talking about the Attitude Era of tag team wrestling. And it seems like you have 2 or 3 years where you have a lot of good tag teams, or at least, a lot of tag teams, period. And then you have 2 or 3 years where you have no tag teams. I mean, you look at, say, 88 to 91, 92, you had, Brainbusters, Blanchard, and Arn Anderson. I totally blanked that as an Arn Anderson. You had Demolition, you had the Hart Foundation, you had the Rockers, you had, on the NWA side, you had the Road Warriors, you had Doom, you had the Skyscrapers, which was me, Markowitz, and, Dan Spivey. There was a lot of different teams. Of course, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express. Going to the Attitude Era, you had the New Age Outlaws, you had the Headbangers, you had, going up and up and up, you had the Acolytes, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardys, Right to Censor, or remember the, huh?
I do remember those guys.
Yeah, you had a bunch of different teams, and the Un-Americans, Lance Storm and who was the other Un-American?
It's a very good question because I really don't know. Was it Jericho or somebody?
It might have been Jericho or Christian. I think it was Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you ever notice that you have these runs where you have 3 or 4 years and there's a ton of tag teams, and then you have 3 or 4 years and there's no tag teams.
Yeah, I would just like to see in AWE, just like I said last week, just a couple of mid-card guys that get together and make a run at the tag titles. Because I think that's what they're there for. But right now, you don't have that, so you got two main eventers, that have to take the reins and go for it.
Yeah, damn those people. God, bastards.
Yeah, hogging all the titles. It sucks. I'm just kidding. Move along.
All right, match 4, we had Spider and D-Dog. We had some discrepancy with Spider's role play, which hopefully, we all kind of understand his circumstance. For those of you that weren't aware, he got his RP up late because he went through Jay, blah, 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 blah. I'd like to see a rematch, obviously, and I think we are having a rematch at Retribution, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to point this out, or I kind of wanted to make a point on this, and I just remembered it because I wanted to say, I said I wanted to talk about it on the podcast, but that's just the leniency of deadline. And where I've been in college, if you turn stuff in late, a minute late online, you get a late grade for it. And I've always been really anal about deadline and getting your RP in on time. And I just don't like people who post afterwards because, you usually have, at the least in EWE you have, 2 days, 3 days where there's an RP and you're going to be online and check it. So I understand where Spider's coming from, but it's just not fair to everybody else when you let somebody slide, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
everybody else works to get their RP in on time, and then, you can't let somebody slide. If it was up to me, any RP after, 1 minute after deadline is when you have to get it in. That's my opinion.
Well, I think there are, if there are some extenuating circumstances, I believe, but, they're few and far between. And I was incorrect. They are not having a rematch at Retribution, but Spider is in the International #1 Championship. More on that here in a little bit. We had, let's see, match 5. Oh, AJ Styles against Randy Orton. Another no-show. I don't know, man. It really gets to me after a while. All these guys, and they come in like a ball of fire, and then they're gone. You're getting opportunities against some of the top RPers in the Fed. Why would you not show up?
I don't know. Maybe he heard us talk about how boring his Orton was.
Maybe.
You gotta take that. You gotta take that, and you gotta make it your own, though. You gotta improve from it. So.
Exactly. That's one piece of advice that I would give to any RPer. What we talk about, yeah, we might make light of it a little bit, but all of this is stuff that you can make and make yourself better. Make yourself a better RPer.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna hold back, from criticizing somebody. If I say something that offends you, then make it better. You know what I mean? Because it's not gonna be personal attacks. It's just gonna be stuff about your writing that you can make better.
We also had another thing with the Saw Puppet and Jensen. I don't know. This whole thing just kind of. I'm trying to think of a good word to say here, and I really don't have one.
Yeah, I don't. Judging by the predictions on Retribution, I don't think that anybody really is into that storyline at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Although, of course, you do have representation from Jensen and the Saw Puppet, which started getting my wheels turning. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, this is almost like a War Games. Huh?
Whatever it takes to get a War Games, we'll get it done. Maybe we'll get the podcast really popular, and Jay will absolutely love the podcast, and then we'll be like, Jay, we're not doing the podcast until we get a War Games in EWE.
By the way, while I'm thinking about that, since we haven't pitched on it yet, remember, if you are not a member of EWE and you are listening to this podcast, don't forget to click the link at the bottom in the YouTube description here, or Google Envision EWE, that's INVISION EWE at the Google bar, to check out EWE, or, of course, talk to any of your friends that are in Extreme Wrestling Entertainment. And remember, we do want your comments, guys. We read everything that gets posted on the board. And if you want to get in War Games, I'm sure Jay can't ignore all of us. War Games. War Games.
War Games.
War Games.
War Games. War Games. That's our next podcast. We just talk about War Games the whole time.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the next pay-per-view, which is EWE War Games.
Oh man.
Yeah. Anyway, so with War Games, she's going to hate us so much right now. I swear.
Yeah, he's rolling his eyes for sure.
I'm sure he is. Moving on, speaking of Jay, we had a Johnny Chaos promo, basically Johnny and, going into the match with Cameron Hayden here at Retribution, which should be pretty interesting. We'll get to that here in a minute. We had Sonic versus Christian Taylor. Again, JC, even though I laugh because, everyone kind of gives him slack for using the Sonic character, when you picture him as a midget in a blue suit, and the fact that JC touches on that in his RPs, it makes those RPs so much more readable, in my opinion.
Yeah, to a certain extent, it's stupid when you break the fourth wall, and I'm not a fan of it. But when he does that, it's very hilarious. I agree with you. It makes his Sonic RPs very readable because he's kind of breaking that fourth wall.
Of course, Christian Taylor. I'm a big fan of the Christian Taylor character. I mean, it's kind of generic. It's kind of here's this quasi porn star, what's up kind of guy. But I mean, he's funny, and he won the match here. I don't know. I'd like to see Christian get involved in the X Division hunt, if you want my honest opinion.
Yeah, I think that'll happen too. I don't see why not. I think that'll happen soon too.
Moving on, we had Daniel Bryan versus Beth Phoenix in the Ultimate X spot. I didn't really fully understand the concept here of the Ultimate X spot, and I think we kind of touched base on this in the last podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if we did. Oh, we talked about why he had. Did we talk about why he had a champion beside his name or a C beside his name?
Yeah, I think
that's all we talked about.
Maybe we didn't talk about it on there. I was actually referring to. Here's two people that, in my opinion, should be in the X Division spot, yet they're battling for this #1 contendership. In my opinion, put them both in. Here's two people that are RPing very well. Let them both compete at Retribution.
That's true, but I think that stemmed from a Twitter war on Daniel Bryan's Twitter page. I'm using quotations when I say that, but his Twitter page, and they got into a little spat. So. And Beth challenged him to put his X Division title shot on the line, so he did. And saying that, I have to give Mark credit for that Daniel Bryan RP. That is what I picture when I picture a Daniel Bryan RP, not this. I want to incorporate some yes. I want to incorporate some WWE stuff. I don't want him to get back to the American Dragon, and once you channel that in, you can get some pretty intense RPs out of it.
American Dragon! Yeah, no, I agree. I used to watch, before I cut back on my wrestling, I used to watch Danielson, Bryan Danielson, that is, when he was, doing the independents and stuff like that. And he was he still is a very accomplished mat worker. But it was a very, very straightforward I kind of gave it was almost like a 70s kind of wrestler. Kind of that straightforward, in your face, cut and dry kind of guy. And, he did very well with that. On the opposite side of the coin, I think that Shadix Beth Phoenix is very good as well. I think he plays the glamazon, so to speak. Because when I do judge, I try to learn a little bit more about the character, and I did read some or watch a little bit of the Beth Phoenix stuff, and he does a pretty good job. So, I can't fault him there either.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because you want to know. What this character would do, what this character wouldn't do, what they're doing different with the character that's not in the normal realm of what the character wouldn't want to do. I think that's a big part in playing a character that's real.
Moving on, we had a thing with Christy Clark Chaos, Christy Clark Chaos, I should say. Miss Chaos basically accepting 18's challenge, the match for Retribution, which I think will be good. We'll get into that again here in a little bit. We followed up with Dane versus Adrian Quinn. Quinn got the victory of all three judges. I think the Dane character has had a lot of potential, but I think that DK has just sort of lost where he was going with it.
Yeah, it was interesting at first, and is it just me, or does he kidnap somebody every role play? I mean, is that just me, or does it happen a lot, or am I just making this up? Because it really just feels like he ends up kidnapping somebody every role play.
I think he overextended the concept there. I mean, I think he's at this point trying too hard to force the character to be dark. And realistically, I mean, you can be dark without breaking laws and whatnot. You know, there's a fine line. Once is shocking, twice is interesting, 3 times you're starting to hit the limit.
Yeah, I mean, how many times can you burn somebody in a church? You know.
No, well, WrestleMania 7 payback, yes. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, that's actually a reference to, which, by the way, you need to check your YOLA account. Those RPs are not available anymore.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out, but it's not. I don't know how to get it working again, so I guess they're lost forever. Except I do have them in my Word documents, so still got those.
I'd like to see those reposted. John is actually referring to the DDB Jack Michaels match from WrestleMania 7, where he burned John North down at a church, and of course our comeback for that was Jack Michaels decided, let's send the cops after him.
And then I kind of turned that around with Jensen getting Derek out of trouble, and then that was our 2 second RPs. Then our third RPs I forgot, but regardless, our last RPs were the exact same RP, except worded a little different and done a little differently.
You know, I told someone the other day, and this is, and this is going back kind of Dane, and I want to talk about Adrian Quinn too. But you got to remember, there's the line of reality. I mean, of course, this is fictional writing. Of course, you're not going to have a guy slam his hand through a windshield and walk away next week and not have a scratch on his hand. That's not realistic. We do it all the time, that kind of stuff. But, at the same time, you're not going to burn a guy down in a church and nothing's going to happen. You're not going to, like Lita, the other week with Shadek, defiling a grave. I mean, I'm sorry, that is a federal crime. That's not something, that's just going to be, taken lightly. So that's one piece of advice I think I would give to any RP is that remember there is some aspect of reality that we have to keep in mind. I mean, I'm not saying there can't be any fantasy. I mean, but remember, if you do decide to cross that line, be prepared for that kind of a rebuttal.
Yeah, I agree. But and you can also do it in different ways. You can have fantasy, but you don't have to go straight for a fantasy with it. It's kind of like I did with the Hurricane. I don't know if a lot of listeners are listening, but I would basically have Gregory Helms write what was happening, and I still did fantasy, but it was still in the realm of possibility because it was basically a comic book. It wasn't real. I was painting the picture of the comic book. Exactly. So anybody can always do something like that and make it work.
Sure. I was actually even thinking about my last RP for Girls Night Out, with Dutch meeting older Dutch, through the mirror.
Yeah.
At the end, you kind of have the question, well, was he dreaming the entire time or did it really happen? Now, that's a little bit more cinematography, or that's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for here, Johnny? Cinegraphic, you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not the one to be asking about vocabulary.
Like you would see in a movie is kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah.
There was some creative license there, but at the same time, you kind of had that, did it really happen, did it not happen? The argument could be made either way. But yeah, that would definitely be something to bring up. And we also had the attack on Dane after the match by Johnny Chaos, and then of course we also had the thing with Cameron Hayden, which should be a good match for Retribution. I do want to mention Adrian Quinn. Very impressed with Quinn, all of his characters. I think that he's another one that's definitely in line for an INT shot or an undisputed shot sometime in the future if he makes his way through the rankings.
Yeah, you just got to get rolling with Quinn, and I think that was a good step in the right direction because we were talking last week about how he's kind of on a losing streak, even though that's a really good character, and he was putting out, decent RPs, but he was just not there yet, and I think this is getting over that hump.
Indeed, yeah. Now we're starting to get into our co-main event here. We had Jason Phoenix versus CM Punk. Irony of this one here was basically here we had Jason Phoenix womp on these two dark matches and then compete in his regular match, which I thought was kind of funny. Not saying he didn't put out a decent RP, but I think CM Punk did a great job here, and I think it really. These are another two guys that could very easily be in the international or undisputed hunt. It's just as plain and simple as that. I would love to see those two team up and be in the tag picture. It would work, believe it or not. But that's something for them to decide, I guess.
Yeah, I expected that match to be very good, and I think it because I read both RPs really early, like right after deadline, after CM Punk posted, because I'm a CM Punk fan. And I read it, and I was very impressed with both role plays.
Moving on, we had Michael Jensen show up, kind of doing the jigsaw thing, blah, blah, blah. Of course, this is what you missed, Johnny, was the bringing back the X-Corps. He actually was, and this is going out of character, of course, Jay and I had discussed after our last podcast the U.S. Tag Team idea. And we actually really liked the idea, but we didn't feel there would be enough interest as a tag team, but we wanted to give a belt for the lower division. And, guys, that's not a shot to anyone that's going for the X-Corps, but, I mean, realistically, you have your RPers that are your undisputed contenders, your international contenders, blah, blah, blah. But there is a bit of a discrepancy right now. So he felt, and there was a request for a hardcore division again. So he felt the best way to kill two birds with one stone would be to bring back the X-Corps Championship, not as 24/7 rules, but as it was when it first debuted in EWE back in 2004, when it went from the hardcore title to the X-Corps title from the WWE days to the EWE days. And the first two that came up were Leo Cat and Eli the Kid, which I think would be a great first match for that title.
Yeah, that'll definitely do that title some justice, I agree. And I'm glad they come up, but what happens to the X Division title now? Because it's like, I thought that was kind of the hardcore title. I thought that was kind of hardcore.
X Division, I think, was more along the lines of, I always kind of thought of X Division as sort of like as the, I know it's going to sound funny, the High Flyers title. Does that make sense at all? Sort of the...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like a cruiserweight title is how I always kind of looked at it. Or I guess in EWE, I guess it'd be the equivalent of like a European title, going back to the WWF days. Yeah, and basically we also had another rundown of all the matches coming in here, a few different things, and we'll get to Retribution here, but that's basically what the Jensen talk was about. And of course, our main event was Brooke McGuire versus Edge. As you said last week, Johnny, that was a very important match for Brooke to win. Mike needed to win that to have some heat going into Retribution. Realistically speaking, I understand why Mike didn't want to have White Tiger continue on because he's basically retiring White Tiger. But at the same time, I think you put it best in your predictions. Who would buy Brooke McGuire versus Dutch Clark?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saying that as a slide. I was just saying, that's very true. But, Brooke keeps winning, pulls out a few. And I think she should be written like that in results is like the, it's definitely the big underdog. How does she win this match? How does she win this match? And the question would be going into Retribution, that's what I almost said, Retribution is, will she keep winning? That's how I would book her. And I think she's been, beat Edge, beat DDD, and I think she has a pretty good win streak going in. So actually buy her as a legitimate contender, but still, I don't. If I was a fan, I wouldn't buy it.
Well, it's of course at the same time that is one thing where you got to kind of suspend your belief with EWE. I mean, realistically, you're not going to see women fighting for the men's titles like this. I mean, we all know this.
So like I said, it's like it's you and Mike RPing, so it's going to be, it's going to be great. So.
Oh, handler-wise, no doubt. But at the same time, I think that's the only thing realism-wise where you got to kind of suspend that belief, because I mean we all know you're not going to see Avril Lavigne holding the international title when she did. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the character is very good. and that's where e-fetting comes into play. But anyway, so that's your rundown of Chaos. Basically, our top 5 RPers. Jason Phoenix was number 1, no doubt there, because he RP'd in like 17 matches. But although the top RPer by average was actually Adrian Quinn, which does not surprise me, followed by Brooke, Edge, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Dane, and then, the CM Punk, Jason Phoenix, and then Dane. Again, good show. I think there were some very good RPEs in the show. I think the show was well written. Any other comments there, Johnny?
No, not really. Like I said, I need to catch up on it because I've been busy since, I think Tuesday. I've not really got to sit down for a long time online and check stuff out and catch up on everything. So, but I did read, I skimmed through and read some of the matches, especially the matches I read RPs. But, yeah, really good show. Wish it wouldn't have took so long so we could have one more Chaos before Retribution, but it is what it is.
Agree with you there. But, of course, that is going to lead into our pay-per-view, which is Retribution. Starting out, we're going to have a special heat wave, as we've been having for some of the pay-per-views again, which I kind of do like because it reminds me of the Sunday Night Heat days back in the WWF, which, you always used to watch Sunday Night Heat before the pay-per-view started. Let's see here. Our opening match... Our RP, or, excuse my language, I'm not going to say it on there, F-off match, even though I think we both dropped a couple F-bombs on the last podcast.
Yeah, we also had Mark on here as well, so.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying. Basically, Christian, Mark Steele, Michael McGillicuddy, Randy Orton, Scott Rock, and Assassin. I think most people think Jason Phoenix is going to show up. I hope he does show. Jason Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm calling Jason Phoenix for the winner already.
I'd like to see some of these guys show up. I thought whoever was handling Christian had a decent opening RP. Mark Steele, I didn't know what the hell he was doing. No offense if you're listening, but Michael McGillicuddy, I don't even remember reading anything by him. Randy Orton had a great RP for a character development, nothing as far as match talk goes, and that's a big problem. Scott Rock, my thoughts there. And Assassin, you have a Hall of Famer who never shows up. That's a shame. And I agree with you, Johnny. I'm going with a Jason Phoenix show here.
Yep, Jason Phoenix rolls on to the next match.
Match 2, we're going to have Stan Flan versus Cody Adario. I think I'm saying that right. Adario.
I think you are, yeah.
Again, I read the intros on these guys. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I'm going to probably go Stan Flan. Why not?
Yeah, I'm with you only because he seems like he's going to be active, and he found us via, Rough Nut, I think it was. I'm not sure if that's the right site that he found us on. But he found us on one of those sites, and I'm always interested that new blood comes in, and also the gimmick seems pretty funny, so I'm going with him as well.
Of course, it could be Stan. What is it? Flan is the dessert.
I thought it was flan.
Yeah. Well, there's flan. I think it's pronounced flan though. Is the dessert. Which if it's
I
not
think you're right.
flan, maybe he's a chef gimmick.
Swedish Chef should be the big base then. From the Muppets.
Woo!
Bork, bork, bork.
Bork, bork. Woo! And then you have maybe team him with Ric Flair. Beautiful. And actually, I believe he is going to be teaming with. Leo Cat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. Match 3, Cody Rhodes versus Chris Jericho, number 731 here in EWE. Again, kind of a coin flip. I'm going to go with Cody. Why not?
I'm a big Cody fan, and so are you in WWE. And actually, I don't know if you knew this, but Jeremy Baltimore is the one who's going to be handling Cody Rhodes.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's the one that's going to be handling Cody Rhodes. So I don't know if you want to change your prediction or what, but yeah, he's going to be handling Cody. But I'm still going with Cody just because of J Balt, and he's my hero.
No, and you know what? No, actually, I knew he had come back. I didn't know it was Cody Rhodes he was handling. I wasn't paying attention to that. But, no, again, I don't have a problem with J Balt, as you so eloquently put it. As an RPer. I think he's very talented. I think he's very good. my issue stemmed from what he did the last time he was in the Fed. And you know, I mean, and if you think I'm justified in believing that, please tell me. I mean, I have no.
No, I think you're right. He does that in a lot of places, though. Also, you just gotta know him, because I'm in, like I said, I'm in one other Fed, and then I show up in another one, just kind of on the OSC board stuff, and he shows up to all of them and joins, and he changes pick bases like 3 times in 2 weeks or something, and then he'll bring in another wrestler. I just think he likes debuting as wrestler, and I think he likes that. I think he likes riding for those kind of matches, and then after that, he just kind of burns out.
That's a shame.
That's what happens.
I mean, that really. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame though. You know, I mean, because well, you and I both come from the old school mentality, I believe, where you know you would run a guy and you would take him to the top and you would have that run. You know, and for a guy that just debuts, I mean, that's tough.
Yep.
Match 4, of course, the one I'm looking forward to, Spider-Man versus the Joker. Joker versus Spider-Man, I love Scar. I love her to death. I think her Joker's great. Spider-Man, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm going with Joker in that match just because of Scar, and I think she does. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I'm a huge Batman fan. I own a ton of graphic novels, and I play the video games, the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City video games. I'm a pretty big Batman nerd, so and I have to say he plays a really good Joker.
Comic books.
I don't know. I guess everybody knew that because I played the Hurricane and I knew so much about heroes. But yeah, I'm a pretty big comic book nerd to a certain extent.
You know, I always wanted to do the Punisher. You know, I'm a huge Punisher fan. I always thought that to do it. I said. Moving on, we have the second Jon Moxley versus Michael Clark. Clark is Edge and Quinn as well, and yeah, I'm very impressed with him. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I'll go with him as well, but I really wish we would get a good Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose. And I don't know if any of you guys follow. I don't know if any of you guys listen, follow, you know, FCW and the independent circus, but Moxley is freaking good. He's going to be I think he's going to be the next big thing in WWE. And I wish we could find a really good guy to play him, because his character is very unique. And you need to look up some of his stuff too, Dustin, because he's really good. But yeah, I'm going with Clark.
Believe it or not, John, I actually did look up Moxley when I faced him with Dutch Clark, the first Jon Moxley character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not bad. I can't say it's not something I haven't seen before, but at the same time, you're kind of limited when you're on the independent circuit as to the kind of exposure you can do. So
yeah, he reminds me on the mic of, I guess I want to say Raven, the way Raven was.
I was going to say Raven. Yeah.
But he has the wrestling skills of a Punk or a Bryan, where he can go. You know, he can get it. So it's going to be interesting what WWE does to him when he comes in. I hope they give him a good push right off the bat, because I think he deserves it. But that's getting off topic.
He's in WWE now?
No, he's in FCW, which is the developmental territory for WWE now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so that runs down Heat Wave here. That's going to take us in the Retribution. Opening match, as of right now, will be the Jigsaw representative versus the Jensen representative. I have no idea who is going to be in this match. So
it's probably going to be like Dr. Robotnik against what? I don't know who. Somebody from Smallville. Or Jensen. I don't know.
Well, the only thing I can say is that if I have to go, if it's handler versus handler, and you got JC versus Jay, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to go with JC. There, I said it.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you, because I don't think Jay's really taking this all that seriously either. So.
No, actually, I don't think Jay knows what's going on either. I think he's in the same boat with us, so I'm going with JC.
All right. Okay, we got JC there. Next match will be, our X-Core Championship, which we already kind of talked about, Eli versus Leo. You know what? I have been very impressed with JC's Leo Cat. I think it's his most underrated character. And I think that he has the potential now that I believe he downloaded a word processor, which is kind of nice, that he can, I think he can do it here. I'm not taking anything away from Eli. I know Mike helped him out a bit, but I think Leo is going to be your first return X-Core champion.
Yeah, I believe I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with Eli for this one, just because he's back, and I like the way he's not really a heavy hitter when it comes to RPing, but I think he gets his point across very well in the RPs he does, so I think he's going to pick up the win.
Next match on the card, standard tag match between Crime Time and the Outlaw Country Boys. Again, this is another situation which we talked about before. What match is Jay going to slack off on? And again, no offense to Jay, I love you, buddy, but we all know it's true that there's always a match that you do slack off on. I think, even though he does love RPing as Crime Time, so I do got to give him that, I think you're going to see the Outlaw Country Boys take this one.
Kind of with you on it, even though I think if he slacks up on any, which he had told me that we proved him right because we pegged him perfectly because he did slack off. I forget which match. I think it was the Trish match we said that he was going to slack off on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. He did it after, so I see him posting something pretty good for this match, but just because he's good at playing Crime Time. But, I see that Outlaw Country Boys taking this one, too. Even though I did say in my predictions Crime Time, but I'm going to change it on the podcast. Podcast totally different from board predictions.
Moving on, we have the EWE Tag Team Championship, a match both of us are involved with. Our current champions, Charismatic Fury, Christy Clark Chaos, and Dutch Clark versus the Jobber Squad, being represented by Mike and John Jobber.
I'm going with the Jobbers on this one.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
I had this.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I had this big, elaborate plan that I was going to pull, but I'm not going to do it because I like you and I don't want your streak to be broken by John Jobber. But it was like I was gonna do a normal role play. I'm going to hit 3K with it, and it's going to be John Jobber has lost all this weight, and he's the best wrestler ever. And then he wakes up at the end, and he's still a fat, sugar-coated John Jobber. So it's going to be an epic promo, and then he wakes up at the end. I'm going to pull it out on somebody someday, but it's not going to be this match.
Well, I told Jay, and this is how I feel. Out of all the matches I've had on my streak, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there haven't been some tough matches, but the Jobbers scare me because I know what I'm capable of with Dustin Jobber, and I know what you're capable of with John Jobber. And this is actually, and if anyone decides to read my Retribution tag RP, I am going to touch base on this, RPing 101, don't tell what you're going to do before you do it, but...
Well, in this match, I think it's okay because I'm not going to take anything and use it against you as a jobber.
I don't really care if you did or not because I'm going to play it. It's just how I normally would. But you guys have to realize with the Jobber Squad, and again, a little off topic here, but they have held, if you look at, and I'm not talking about handlers, mind you, because your handlers, you have Jay, you have Mike, you have John, and you have myself, which are our primary four, who have held more belts in EWE and e-fitting in general than probably anybody else in the history of e-fitting. I don't know. It's a lot of titles. But just taking, let's say John Jobber. John Jobber is highly decorated as far as titles go, which is a scary thought. John and I actually won tag titles, and John Jobber won a singles title back. What was it? PCWF that we did that in?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't underestimate the power of humor. And the Jobber Squad that's what they are. They're
in e-fitting, and I'm a firm believer in this. If you can do humor right, you can literally beat anybody. If you can do humor right. I think that because that's the hardest, really the hardest emotion to capture out of somebody is making somebody laugh. And I think if you can capture that, I think you can beat anybody.
I think that the two keys to, and I agree, to being a great deep setter, a great handler, is to not only be able to make someone laugh, but to be able to make someone cry, and to have the ability to stir emotion. Mike and I were having a conversation last night about that, about the handlers that are able to capture that spectrum of emotion. And, you know, there's a lot of guys that can write humor. There's a lot of guys that can write drama. I mean, anybody can say, I'm going to kick your ass. But to have the ability to turn around and not only make someone think, but to play into that card, I mean, that's tough. You're right. It's very hard. And I agree. I think humor is one of the toughest because what you and I say to each other that makes us laugh is not as easily put down in the words. So.
Yeah, like I think you saying that your toe looks like a dick is hilarious, but maybe not everybody else thinks that's funny. That's old school. That's old school insider.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you who don't know that story,
I don't think we have to go into that.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time. But there is a very funny story behind that. Moving on, we have the match that Jensen did on Chaos, which is going to be Dane versus CM Punk. Again, I think Dane's character's played out at this point. I think BK knows it. I think everyone knows it. I think CM Punk's doing very well right now. I pick Punk.
Yeah, I'm going with Punk too. Like you said, I don't know who Dane's going to kidnap this this role play because I don't know anybody Punk's close to. Anything dark he can do, maybe play on something with Punk being straight edge, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm going with Punk too. I don't think Dane will win this one.
Our international #1 contendership, which is going to be Edge versus Spider. I'm reading Jay's prediction here. He says, I don't know, this is going to be nasty. And I tend to agree with him. I think this is a very close match because I know both of these guys have the ability to write very capturing RPGs. I think Edge gets the nod in humor and, you know, the more levity, but I think Spider definitely gets the nod in the drama. I'm going to go with a coin flip here. I'm going to go with Shane. I think Shane Spider pulls it off here.
The only thing keeping me from picking Spider is his RP situation right now. Not only that, but I like I said in my prediction, I disagree with you. I think we had a disagreement last week on how Edge plays Edge in EWE like he's been in EWE before, and I love it, and I like that, and I think it's I think he's on a roll right now, minus losing to Brooke last week. But I want to pick him over Spider.
He's on a roll. I mean, he lost, but he's on a roll.
He is. He's RPing well. You can be on a roll and e-betting and still losing as long as you're riding well. I don't think it's you can consider yourself in a slump.
Yeah, no, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, no, I hear you. That's going to take us into another grudge match. We have Christy Chaos versus Android 18. In other words, we have Jay versus Mike. No, you know, I'm just kidding. Gotta go Christy. I'm sorry. Haven't seen or heard from Jen in months. She was my tag team partner of the year last year, but and I know she can bring it, but Jay is so good with Christy right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and also I just thought this feud kind of came out of the blue. I just thought 18 just kind of boom, she's back just for this, and I'm not sure why it was Retribution or what happened, why it wasn't, you know, because I know she's not coming back full time, so I'm gonna go with Christy too.
Well, you know why they're having the feud, right?
No, I mean I probably do, but it's slipping my mind right now.
Well, it's because they're fighting for Dutch's love.
Oh,
Jen
is that what it is?
Secretly in love. Jen was secretly in love with Dutch, and when they won the tag team of the year, she's jealous that Christy married Dutch and became, you know, the tag team that they are today. It's all very simple. You just got to read between the lines.
Well, I need in that match too because I'm also in love with Dutch Clark.
And you're a former partner.
Yeah, so it fits. Christy for the win. Hey.
Oh God. Okay. Moving on, we have a couple big-time jobbers here. We have Derek Daniels, whoever that guy is, versus The Rock. Actually, I'm sorry. No offense, Jay. Derek is one of the. I think his Rock's good, but John, if you're feeling it, you're feeling it. And Derek Daniels is the epitome of what an e-fighter should be. I think Jay's going to give you a run. I think you win in the end.
Yeah, I think we agreed to a 1 RP limit because he's kind of slumped, and then I don't have anything going right now for Derek. But inspiration kind of hit me tonight as we were speaking with each other before we went on. So I think it's going to be a pretty good retribution for me after all. After I said that I didn't have nothing going, a couple ideas popped in my head. So I'm going to bring it officially. Here's the declaration right here on the podcast. I'm bringing it, Jay. I'm not predicting the match, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm not predicting the match, but I'm bringing it.
I think that's going to be one we're all going to look forward to. I'm interested to see where that's going to go based on what we talked about. Going on, we're going to have the culmination of the Rumble match that was on Chaos a few weeks ago. We're going to have D-Dog defending his international championship versus AJ Styles in a ladder match. Basically, we're going to have D versus Mark. You know what? I know we all have our own little personal issues with Mark, more so do lately than anyone. But I gotta say, his AJ is amazing. I think D's very good at D-Dog, but he is so on right now with AJ. I have to take Styles.
Kind of with you on that, and I've never seen the character of AJ Styles played so well before in E-Fed in the way he's played, and I don't think Mark's ever watched that much TNA, so props to him on that. But I'm still going. I think D-Dog retains.
Really?
Yeah, I think D-Dog retains just because I think D-Dog is really good at times. Like, I've faced him before. I faced him twice as Kincaid, and I thought I lost both times with Kincaid. Like, I thought D-Dog beat me, and then the judges saw it differently. So I think he pulls it out. The thing is, I want to see what is there, a 3 RP limit on that?
2 or 3, yeah.
I would assume it's 3. Well, I'm just curious. I don't think Mark can string together 3 solid RPs like D-Dog can in one show. I don't think it's going to happen.
Let me double check this because we were actually discussing the RP limits, by the way. That's why if you guys look at the comment, please put that in our comment box while I'm looking this up. Again, another quick plug. Don't forget, check out the EWE website, Envision EWE in Google or in the bottom in our description. Of course, we love reading all of your guys' comments. But we were discussing the RP limits on matches, and I believe now on pay-per-views it's going to stay at 2 unless otherwise specified. And yes, it is a 2 RP limit.
Okay, well, that does make it a little closer for me. But I'm gonna stick with D-Dog. Just shake things up a little bit, and I think he keeps the INT title.
That's going to take us into our next match, which is going to be Alessandro Quagliateri. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Abs. I apologize if I am. Versus Dan Taylor. This is going to be a good match, I think. Although, and I'm going to go with Abs here. Not taking it away from Dan, of course, but at the same time, I guess I'm just been a little disappointed with Ekvil lately. I know he's taken some time off, and he's kind of been, I don't know, he's just been really hit or miss for me. I feel like the Jack Michael storyline started out real good, and, maybe that's partially my fault that we never really hit into that as much as we should have. But yeah, I'm hoping this is going to be a good comeback kind of thing for him.
Yeah, I picked Abdul in this match because I think, and I'm not saying his whole name, I'm just saying Abdul Q, because it gets on his nerves. But, as I was saying, I think because he's taking this time off, I think he's sitting on something great, and I think he's going to pop it out on Dan. But that's not saying Dan is really good. So I think CM Punk on the predictions hit it best because he said it's the singles match of the night. I think it's going to live up to that definitely.
I think it's going to be definitely good. I'm hoping that this solidifies a comeback for both Alessandro and Dan as well, because I'd love to see him full time in AEW.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I wish he would, but he claims that it can't be done, so we'll see.
Maybe this will give him the bug. It's going to take us into another return match here as Cameron Hayden takes on Johnny Chaos. You know, I have a lot of respect for Hayden. I had a chance to read a lot of his RPs, but at the same time, sorry, Johnny Chaos is, in my opinion, Jay's best character, probably outside of Christie, and I don't see Cameron winning this comeback.
I'm with you in a way, and the reason that the thing about Cameron Hayden is really you never know what you're going to get, because sometimes you'll get this long drawn out role play and it only has a paragraph or so about the match, and that irks me about role playing in general. And but then other times you'll get an engaging promo from him, so you never know what you're going to get. I don't know what the itch has brought back, but I'm going to assume it's going to be match related. And hopefully the Johnny Chaos that I know shows up and not the one that showed up at WrestleMania shows up. So, I mean, this is a coin flip for me, really, but I'm going to go. I'm not sure what I said on predictions either, but I've went against my predictions several times tonight. So I'm going to go with, I'll just went against whatever I said on the predictions. I'm trying to find out what I said here, so I'll know. I said Hayden in a toss-up, so I'm just going to stick with that. Cause I think it'll be a lot of match related, and I think Johnny's still buried alive from the WrestleMania. So
that's going to take us into probably the biggest cluster of the evening, our Ultimate X match, which is going to have champion Mickie James defending her title against Adrian Quinn, Chaos, Jason Phoenix, and Daniel Bryan. I only have one prediction here, and this is going to sound bad, and Chad, this is no offense to you, but my only prediction is we're going to have a new champion.
There is no way, and I will put my e-betting career on it, that Shaddick, whatever you say it, however you say it, Shad is not walking out of that match, or I don't know what the E word is for walking, but he's not walking out of there with it. No way.
I hope he proves us wrong. Don't get me, don't let me say that. But yeah, I can't see. I just can't see it where he keeps that belt. There's no way, in my opinion. I don't know how else to put that, but it's plain and simple.
Yep. Well, who are you picking?
That's a toughie. Going down the line here, I mean, Adrian Quinn, obviously, we talked about it, a lot of potential, has started to kind of hit a stride again. Chaos, I don't know what his situation is. Jason Phoenix, again, now, my problem with Jason Phoenix is that he has done great RPs in matches that don't matter. I'm worried about how he's going to do in a match that does matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Daniel Bryan, of course, now he's Bryan Danielson again, so to speak. This is a toughie. We know Mark is going to have his hands full, and yes, I did say that Mark is AJ Styles, and if anyone hasn't figured that out yet, I swear to God, I'm going to kill somebody. But no, I think he's going to have his hands full with AJ, and I think that we all know that. We all know what he's capable of. We all know what Jason's capable of. We all know what Chaos is capable of, and Shaddick. But I'm going to go with Adrian here. I think that he has managed to handle multiple characters very well, even though he does have the international #1 contendership. I think he's going to be able to produce 4 very good RPs, and I think 2 of those RPs are going to be in this match. So I think Quinn walks away with the title.
Thought about Quinn because of his win on Chaos, but I picked Jason Phoenix, and I think he's gonna still show. I don't think Chaos is gonna show up. I don't think Mark's gonna put that much into Bryan, and I don't think no offense to Shad, I don't think he has the talent to pull off the big guns between. I think it's gonna come down between Adrian Quinn and Jason Phoenix, and I think Phoenix squeaks it out. That's my prediction.
should be a good match if anything. And like I said, I hope these guys prove us wrong. I know that Shad is perfectly capable of RPing, you know, at that level, but does he get the motivation to do it? That's the question.
Yeah. We'll see, but I think Jason Phoenix pulls it off.
And, of course, that takes us into our final match of the evening, the EWE Undisputed Championship, featuring our Undisputed Champion, the Irish Fury, Dutch Clark, taking on the original Hollywood Blonde, Brooke McGuire.
This is going to be interesting just because on a handler standpoint, like I said, it's going to be a great match. But we were talking a little bit before, and before we went on air, and I just don't think Mike has what it takes with Brooke to win the big match. I don't think he does. He's going to have to pull off. I think to beat you in this match, he's going to have to do something similar to what I did with Derek with the heel turn, and instead of doing, I mean, it doesn't have to be a heel turn, but he's going to have to do something similar with the character to win the match. He's not going to be able to bring in the Brooke that he is right now and win the match. It's just that simple. He's not going to be able to do it and beat you. But so I'm picking you unless something drastic happens. So that's my opinion on it.
You know, this is the second month in a row Mike and I met at the main event, and you know, I have a lot of respect for Mike. I've had a lot of respect for Mike since the first time I was in EWE and I faced him. But Mike will say it himself, he hates me as an RPer. Not so much because, you know, he doesn't like me personally, but because it's hard to find something to come against me on. And, you know, one of the biggest compliments I've ever received came from Mike in saying that I don't have a weakness. And that's his words, not mine. Not that I would ever admit to a weakness, of course, but but no, I without trying to sound too full of myself, I mean, I don't think I do have a big weakness. I think that I am able to adapt fairly well my styles, and I would agree. I don't think Brooke is his strongest character. As a matter of fact, I think his Kelsey Parr is stronger than his Brooke McGuire from a female standpoint. And I feel that Brooke, unfortunately, is very one-dimensional, which isn't to say that Mike is one-dimensional as an RPer. I just think that particular character is. Can he prove me wrong? Absolutely. Will he? I don't know. I don't know if he has what it takes to really fire something at me. And I know what I'm capable of and what I'm planning on doing with Dutch. And I don't know. If this was another White Tiger match, I might feel a little bit stronger of his chances. But, you know, no offense out there, but I just don't see it being done.
Yeah, like I said, he's going to have to do something drastic to that character, and he's going to have to do it in how many ever RPs that you guys, is it 2?
It's a 2, yeah.
All right, he's going to have to do it in 2 RPs. I think he's going to have to capture it. I think that's the only chance he has, honestly.
Well, that runs down our entire card. I'm trying to see if there's anything, I mean, no real news and rumors from what I can see. You know, things have been running relatively smoothly. Of course, we're still working on getting the results up. We have an addition to the staff, as I mentioned. You know, I think that Retribution is going to be a heck of a card up and down because you have a lot of interesting storylines going on. Looking into the future, though, is where things are really starting to get interesting from a lot of standpoints. Is there anything in particular that stands out in your mind, Johnny, as far as storylines or title pictures or anything like that?
I'm just looking forward to King of Extreme with the roster that we have right now. I think that's going to be really interesting. And I think some of the things that happen on this pay-per-view is going to set the tone for what happens on that pay-per-view. I think it's going to be interesting.
Most definitely. I mean, we know right now there's. We could talk about that real briefly here. Just a quick rundown. Obviously, we know King of Extreme. If things are timed out properly, and assuming Dutch is still undefeated, we know that's going to be the blow-off for the streak as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not, if Dutch loses and then joins King of Extreme, it isn't going to be good for anybody else in King of Extreme.
And if I decide to get pissed off again?
Yeah, we do not want that. We do not want that.
I don't know. I don't know what my future endeavors would be. I mean, there's a strong possibility, absolutely, that I can lose at any time. Brooke could beat me at Retribution. I mean, like I said before, Mike is capable of beating me, sure. if the streak ended tomorrow, I have no regrets. 18 in a row. I can't complain about that. I would love to have a chance to break the 25 though. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because at that point, what direction do you take Dutch Clark? And that's kind of what I asked myself because I don't know. Everyone. In fact, I was just talking. Who was I talking to the other day about that? Someone was asking me about, if I had this all planned out. I'm like, how can you plan out having 18 wins in a row? I mean.
Yeah, that's very true. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, that's not something that I exactly. I mean, as long as I've been on the team and as long as I've been in Feds, that's not exactly a contingency plan. You don't plan on never losing a match. I mean, you want to think you're always going to win, but reality sets in, So, I don't know. I don't know what the contingency plan is at this point. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. What if you never lose again?
Well, man.
Man.
Could Dutch Clark go 12 months in a row without a loss?
It's possible. I think it's very possible, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. There's a little discussion for you guys. Can Dutch Clark actually be DC UDF 2012? Can I take a character 12 months without a loss? I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this podcast. Once again, we want to thank you all for listening. Keep those role plays coming. Please keep putting your comments on. Is there something you want to hear in the podcast, something you don't want to hear? Are you interested in being one of our interviews? That is something that's going on. Obviously, I just did the one with A-League last week. Look for some more coming up. We're going to have Dee do an interview. Jay is going to do an interview if he can get over his shyness. And eventually we're going to probably have John and I even get up and talk a little bit about our careers. That way you get a little better feel for where we came from. And, so, I mean, like I said, if there's anything else you guys want to hear, please shoot us some comments. I'm sure John and I would be more than happy to listen and do what we can.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to those interviews. I think me and Dustin had planned on doing one next week during the lull between results and judging for Retribution and results.
Definitely look forward for some more podcasts. We plan on doing another short show based on Girls Night Out and Ladies Night. That will be coming up as soon as results get posted there. We'll get to work on that. And, like I say, guys, please just keep listening and let your friends know. At some point, too, I do want to state that we are taking our podcast to another level as well. John and I will be doing the first Wrestling Evolve podcast, which should be hopefully next week, if John and I are able to get that going. I mean, that accurate, Johnny?
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah. Basically, Wrestling Evolved is going to be pretty much a look at the past, present, and future of professional wrestling, how wrestling came to be where it is today. I know our first topic we were discussing was going to revolve around Royal Rumble 92. And we do have several guests interested in appearing on the show, including, I think I'm pronouncing his last name right, Joe Gagney. Is that how he pronounces it?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right about that.
Yeah. Joe Gagney runs the Wrestling Fun Time Arcade, which, if you guys haven't seen it on YouTube, pretty much focuses on the old school wrestling games. He also has a very extensive knowledge of old school wrestling. I've approached him, and his producer is interested in having him on our show. We've also talked with, help me out here, Johnny, I know Jacques Rougeau has got back to us.
Yeah.
And showed some interest. You guys don't know who Jacques Rougeau is. The Mountie, the Quebecers, about appearing with us on our show. Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bear, has contacted us. He can't be on the show at this point, but, we do have feelers out there, believe it or not. So, that would be kind of a neat situation for us as well. So, again, that's
we've reached out to you. You have reached out for a lot of wrestlers, to be on our show. So hopefully get a few replies back.
Oh yeah. Just to give you guys a heads up, I have been sending out some feelers, and I have received some responses. Sent out feelers to Jimmy Cornette. Again, I said Paul Bear, Jacques Rougeau, Ted DiBiase, Zeus, Tom, Tiny, Lester. Who else am I forgetting here, Johnny? I know I sent more out.
There was a lot.
Tatanka. Tatanka.
Yeah.
Bruce Beefcake. There was somebody else too. Can't remember. But anyway, yeah, we do have feelers out, and like I said, that's going to be our legitimate. I'm not saying this is not a legitimate podcast, but that's going to be more of our dedication to professional wrestling in general. And like I said, at least as of right now, it looks like Joe Gagne is going to be our first guest. So keep an eye out for that. We may be running a regular show before we get Joe Gagne on the show, but hopefully you guys will be interested in that as well, and you can tell all your friends. With that being said, this is the original dynamic one, Dustin J. Markowitz.
And I'm the original, I guess, John North. Follow me on Twitter at JNorth0.
Oh, jeez. Didn't I call you the Kentucky Hot Plate? Wasn't that what I called you?
Yeah, I think so. Whatever. That sounds good.
Yeah, well. Follow me on Twitter at Dustin Markowitz, capital D, capital M, even though I don't know if that matters or not.
I don't think it does. At JNorth0. What up?
At JNorth0, at Dustin Markowitz. Of course, you can also follow me on Facebook. Just look up Dustin J. Markowitz on Facebook. And, of course, check out all of our YouTube videos, including all the exclusive interviews, not only here in EWE, but other things that he and I have been involved with in the past. Once again, for John Mark, this is Dustin J. Markowitz. Good fight, good night. We'll see you next week.